I'm going to give you a brief summary of immigration issues or issues dealing with the mechanics of immigration. The first thing I want to talk about is the idea of a visa. A visa is really permission or like a license to enter a country. So if, for example, I want to go to France or if I want to go to China, I will send my documentation over to the consulate or the embassy, usually a consulate. A consulate is a place that handles paperwork for that, represents literally as the territory of that country in your country as a diplomatic. And so I will say I want to come as a visitor, or I may have other reasons, and they will obviously require payment of $200 or $300 or more. And then they may or may not decide to give me the visa. That's pretty simple. I mean, that's what a visa is. Situations we're dealing with in the United States now with immigration are not generally that simple, although I have to tell you that many individuals in the United States now without paperwork or undocumented actually may have come on a visitor's visa or on a business visa or some other kind of visa, and they just overstayed. They stayed beyond the limit because a visa usually limits you to 3 months. You know, you can go to China for 3 months or a month or 10 days, depending on every country has a different rule. And what I've ran across here is that quite a few individuals, especially people with money or, you know, a little more upper class or educated, they would come over and overstay their visa. That's real common with students that used to come in. Students come in mainly for university or special training, and they just stay. They didn't leave. And for many years, we didn't enforce it. We were very lackadaisical, I guess is the word. You almost had to commit a serious crime for them to even, the immigration to even look for you. And those days are long gone, but that was the way it was in the 90s and earlier. After 9/11, everything changed. So what we're dealing with now, and I got a page here that'll be alongside this video, and I want you to click on these. I have a brief video site talking about DACA, who are, we call them the dreamers. There's kids that are in their college age or a little older or a little younger who came over with their parents and entered the country without documentation. And I use the word undocumented. I do not use the word illegal alien. A lot of people like to flaunt that word. The word alien is not a particularly positive word. It's usually associated with flying saucers. All right, so we have the DACA, the dreamers. They are individuals, and I have the first little site there. If you you can put this in your resource book. So DACA is one of them, and it explains, and it's from the Vox.com site. I'm trying to find sites that are relatively full of information and not full of propaganda. So this is not easy to do. The immigration process for getting a visa as a tourist, student, or business, actually got a little clip there from the U.S. ambassador to Britain, and he talks about those. And F is the letter of the visa that you come as a college student or a high school student sometimes. J is for exchange students that come here for 1 year, if you've had those in high school. So they'll have a J visa. College students will have an F visa. Business people may have a B2. Let's see, what would that be? I think it's a B2 visa. Now I'm kind of forgetting. But I got a sheet attached to this, and you can look up the letters. They almost go A to Z. It's not as X, Y, Z, but everything before that, there's something. All kinds of cases. Spouses of people that are here temporarily on business, they can get a visa. Bringing in relatives to live in the United States, that's a type of visa, permanent residency opportunity there. And then I also included asylum, and there's a little interview of an asylum, an example of what they ask. And asylum is granted for individuals that are at great threat in their homeland for political and religious persecution. A lot of this started out, the United States instituted this for individuals threatened by communism. So it was very common in the 50s that people from, well, after Cuba became communist, after that, Cubans had almost a free reign. They could come right in the United States. No one questioned that. The same deal with Russia, Eastern Europe, China, any country that had persecution. And if they were like a member of the communist bloc in the old Cold War days, it was almost automatic. So you had a lot of Lithuanians and Poles and different individuals that once they escaped from East Germany or Poland or something, they would get a visa. Now that changed gradually after the Cold War and got a little murky. But asylum has also been granted for people of victims of domestic violence, of gang violence, being threatened, being killed in their homeland. El Salvador and Guatemala have this, Mexico at times. But the Trump administration, and they've tried to eliminate domestic abuse as a reason. So if you're abused by your husband in Colombia or Venezuela, and you came and said, I'm a victim of severe abuse and no justice in my country, Sessions, the Attorney General, has said that that's not going to stand, he won't stand for that anymore. That's a reversal of previous administrations, not just Obama, but Bush and others. So I want you to know what asylum is, because there are some asylum seekers. They can apply for asylum as soon as they show up at the border, enter the United States, so they can apply for it later if they've been here without documentation. I've included a little video of a guy interviewing someone, and it's a pretty sloppy interview, and actually that's probably fairly accurate. People don't always have a good reason or a really good documentation to justify. You know, and when you're from a country where you're being persecuted, usually your persecutors do not provide documentation of their evil doings toward you. So you have to show that you were in the hospital, or that you were beaten, or that you were tortured and you have scars, or that your religion was persecuted or something. We've actually granted this to people from Sudan because of what happened in South Sudan, in Africa, and other parts of Africa where there's been persecution. Okay, well, I provided these for you. And then I did provide a sheet, which I took a screenshot of, and you can open it in the document. And it talks about all the options. Journalists can get in on an I visa. I think it's called I. Physicians can get in on a J or an H-1B. Performing athlete, a professional athlete, artist, or entertainer is a P. Person with highly specialized knowledge, like a physicist or someone of great knowledge, can get an H-1B. Temporary agriculture. You can look at all these visas, and they do use all these. Diplomats get the A visa. I think this is kind of cool. There's even a visa for being an Australian professional specialty, an E3. And I don't know what that would be. You know, maybe that would be like somebody who hunts crocodiles or something. I have no idea. Golfers coming in would get a B1 visa if they're just coming for a few months. Foreign military personnel. I like this because it really tells you all the different ways people can get in the country. Most of them are very restricted. So I hope this has been helpful. I did include on here in video about what do you do if you're an undocumented, it's kind of near the bottom. And there's a little video there, what you do if you're undocumented and you want to get legal, you want to get documented. It's very hard to do because you've already violated the law by being in the United States. And if you show up and petition to be given the permanent or at least temporary right to stay, you may be arrested on the spot. I've had students that would, or students or people I've known would go in for an interview with immigration and they never left the room. So it's like going into a trap. So you can see why people would be hesitant to offer themselves up because they may just be arrested on the spot. Okay, I hope that gives you some idea, and then you can watch videos. And these, you can save some of this stuff on your resource page, okay? All right.